Haven't done a video in a while, and I wanted to be sure to insert my opinion about this very viral case of Ahmaud Arbery, who is being dubbed as just a jogger by the media. And I just kind of want to talk about really just the media's role in propaganda and how upsetting it is to me that Black America always seems to take the bait. Like, I have to say, this case, after all of the work that I have done these last 3 or 4 years to wake Black America up to the fact that every election cycle there is some story that they perpetuate that is supposed to make us think that we are being chased by the Ku Klux Klan. And yet here we are, a couple of months away from an election, and there are Black people running around saying that we are being lynched in Georgia. So let's just start with just the case and how it's been being reported. So first, you are hearing that it is a modern day lynching. That should instantly, if you are a Black American and American, make your ears perk up a little bit, because there are not really modern day lynchings that are taking place in America. There are not lynchings taking place in general. I mean, even at the time, at the height of the civil rights movement, when Black people were actually being lynched, it was approximately 3,500 Black people that were lynched from the entire period of 1882 all the way up until 1968. All right, so that's actually a very low number relative, not saying that lynching is okay, obviously, but a very low number relative to the population that we had at that time, or the population that we had all the way up until 1968. So lynchings are not common in general. The idea that people are going around lynching people in 2020 America, you can already know and you can smell that something is wrong with this story. All right, so before I even saw the video, because I just was interested in the reaction to see how far people were going to take it, I saw that LeBron James issued a tweet, which quite frankly must have been the dumbest thing I have ever read. The tweet was that we are literally, we meaning Black people, we are literally being hunted as soon as we walk outside of our own homes. So this is either laugh out loud funny or really stupid. In my opinion, it's both. LeBron James doesn't even touch his own car door handles. LeBron James is currently building a multi-million-dollar, $100 million estate in Bel Air right now. And LeBron James has a white chef. He's got white housekeepers. LeBron James is somebody that has white people waiting on him hand and foot because he is successful and he has a lot of money, and that's what comes with money and success. So the idea that he is out there perpetuating some idea that Black Americans are literally being hunted for walking outside of their doors is pointedly ridiculous and should have made everybody go, okay, this is really dumb. So I finally look at the video. I'm expecting, based on all of the rhetoric, on all of the articles, which is saying that it's an example of a modern lynching, I am fully expecting to see a video of a mob of white people, maybe with a rope, maybe with some guns, just marching down the street towards a Black person so that they can kill him and make a mockery of him. That's what you should have expected based on the rhetoric that was perpetuating, and everybody was outraged left and right because of this 10-second clip. What I actually saw watching the video left me with more questions than answers. First and foremost, he was not being pursued in the video, obviously. It looked like he was running towards the car, and then when the two people who had guns, he went around and he attacked the person. So that actually left me with a lot of questions of, like, what is going on in this circumstance? Who is recording this video? Because the person who was recording the video was obviously catching up to the situation. He hadn't been trailing this person. And I just wanted to know, how did everybody watch this 10-second clip and instantly think that this person was completely just a jogger who was being lynched? I don't even understand how that came across. Secondly, I noticed in the video, and after reading reports, that he's wearing khaki shorts. So just an easy question to ask is, if you are just a jogger and he is being described in the media as an avid jogger, this is something he does all the time. I do not know any avid joggers that jog in khaki shorts. Now, again, that's a question. That is not insinuating anything. It just is saying that if you looked at the video, you probably should have had more questions than answers. And yet the media and everybody was issuing a verdict that this was some crazy situation where a couple of white people woke up and thought, you know what? Today, I want to lynch a black person. And I think this is the right guy. I see someone, let's go for it. Let's get in our pickup bed and go find ourselves a black person. That was actually just made no sense. But people rarely pause to think, because people are desperate to foster this race narrative in this country. And because there's not many examples of people being lynched or black people being pursued on foot by white people, the media really drummed this one up. All right, so we instantly should have been asking ourselves, is this guy just a jogger? That was sort of bottom line. I thought there's no way this guy was just jogging. And then you hear that the people that actually shot him had called 911. So for everybody that is saying that this person was, murdered, I can tell you right now, no matter how upset you are, this is not going to amount to a murder charge. The legal definition of a murder, you have to be able to prove that this was meditated, that there was some element of meditation. People do not call the cops before they murder someone. That is just not what somebody does. You don't pick up the phone and say, hi, 911, I'm about to go out and commit a murder. That doesn't make any sense, okay? Obviously, something went wrong. So this will amount and can amount to a manslaughter charge, maybe a manslaughter conviction. But this is not going to amount to a murder conviction, okay? He was not the only person that called 911. Multiple people throughout the neighborhood called 911 because they were reporting seeing a person entering in a property that was not theirs, that was under construction. Now, I have seen people who first said that this was all a lie and he was just a jogger, now pivot and say, okay, he just liked to look around at architecture in the neighborhood and that was a thing. Well, first and foremost, okay, just a jogger wearing khakis who decides to stop in the middle of a jog to go onto a property that isn't his and enter in a construction site, a garage or a house, whatever it is that was under construction, and go in and expects nobody to raise a red flag. That's pointedly ridiculous. What I hate about this, and what I always hate about, when Black America gets behind an issue like this, is that we can never argue and be reasonable. We can never say, okay, you know what? He should not have been on the property because he shouldn't have. You should never be trespassing on someone's property. We should not be pretending that it's normal behavior to walk through construction sites, especially when there are no construction workers there in a private neighborhood. It's not like it was a building being built. It was on a quiet street. You walk up on somebody's property. He's not jogging in the video. He's walking slowly onto the property and you enter a building. Of course, people are going to start to call 911. Okay, that escalated the situation in just his action of deciding to enter a property while he was on a jog in khaki pants, obviously, escalated the situation and people were calling 911. Then you have this guy who they start calling 911, and this guy who says he's going to make a citizen's arrest calls 911, gives them a description, and gets in his car with his son and has a shotgun. If the point of the debate that people were having was whether or not that action was smart, whether or not making a citizen's arrest is a good idea, you would probably find that everyone sort of agrees that it's not really the best thing to do. Calling 911 is usually enough. If I saw someone entering a property and I didn't think they lived there, I would call 911 and I would leave it alone. But that is not the argument that people are making. They are calling this a modern day lynching. They are calling this as something being motivated by race. This is not motivated by race. The second you call 911 and you're entering another property, the motivation behind somebody trying to figure out who you are in their neighborhood is not racially motivated. It's because you do not own the property that you are on. There is no reason for people to be injecting race into this narrative. Argue it on the basis of whether you think a citizen's arrest is valid. Argue it on the basis of whether you think that Ahmaud Arbery deserved to die. I don't see a single person who has made the argument that they think that this man deserved to die. But arguing it on the basis and pretending that this was racially motivated, it's stupid. I mean, it's incredibly stupid. Beyond that, when people like LeBron James perpetuate this idea that Black people are being murdered and hunted by white people, it defies common sense because it goes against every statistic in America. We have a culture issue in Black America because we constantly accept this lie that somehow we're the societal victims. When in fact, when you look at the stats, if you want to start playing the race game, we're going to be the ones that look bad. We represent 13% of the population, but we account for approximately 40% of all of the murders in this country. Whereas white people account for 61% of the population, more than half of the population, and they commit less murders than we do. You can't just just go around pretending that we are the people that are constantly being oppressed and are the people that are constantly, being hunted down, when we know that black people kill white people at 2 times a higher rate than the other way around. And I'm not saying this, by the way, to say all black people are horrible, and that's not the purpose of this. The purpose is to have a more honest conversation about what is going on in this country. The purpose is that every single time a murder happens, it doesn't mean that it's racially motivated. Sometimes things just go wrong. Obviously, a lot of stuff went wrong in that video that we saw. That 10-second clip of that person running. A lot of things went wrong. First and foremost, I bet the person who had the gun wasn't expecting him to be lunged at. Obviously, if he was out to hunt the black person, okay, he would have shot him at a distance. When you're out hunting, you don't wait for the thing that you're hunting to grab your gun and go back and forth. Obviously, we're not going to be able to prove the standard that he wanted to hunt him, but wanted to wait until the guy grabbed his gun and went and wanted to wrestle with him. That just defies common sense. If he wanted to kill the guy, he would have fired off a couple of shots before he got anywhere near him. I think he wanted to make the guy stop, and intimidate him and wait for the cops to get there because he was convinced that this was the guy that was recently burglarizing his home. Unfortunately, Ahmaud Arbery, who has a history, of crime, lunged at him, and things went off from there. And it's unfortunate that, this person ended up dead in a situation that it didn't need to ever, culminate into a death. But what's going to happen is it's going to be a manslaughter charge, and the defense is going to argue for self-defense. He might entirely get off on a self-defense, claim in this case, because, like I said, Arbery did charge him. You can see the scuffle. You did charge him. Now, I'm not saying he should. I'm saying he could. So save your outrage for when that likely or could happen. From everything that I'm seeing of people perpetuating this and pretending that, this is anything more than just election fodder. When our media declined, they all had the video of him trespassing on property, and none of them published the video until yesterday because they want Black Americans angry. They want Black Americans to constantly believe that we're being oppressed and that white men are trying to kill us at every turn. They could have easily given the videos more context. They could have published the video of him entering the property. They could have told you about the 911 calls that were coming throughout the neighborhood, and everyone would have quieted down a little bit. But Black Americans are so reactive. We got people that are wearing I run with Maud t-shirts, showing up to protest, showing up, getting ready to riot if this person doesn't get this or doesn't get that, because we never pause to think. I could think of no other race that does this. Literally no other race that does this. Recently in New York City, a Jewish rabbi was stabbed in the head during a service, literally for being Jewish, by a Black man in the neighborhood. And that was one example in a string of crimes that were being perpetrated by Black people to Jewish people in the neighborhood. There was never, ever, ever any Jewish person that came out and said Jewish people literally are being attacked when they come out of their homes, are literally being hunted by Black people. You want to know why they didn't do that? Because that's hyperbole. It sounds foolish. It sounds emotional. It sounds irrational. Okay. Yes, somebody did something, and it's a horrible thing when any person ends up dead. But to only speak about what has gone on confined simply to race, it's because of the color of their skin. It doesn't make us sound intelligent. It makes us sound angry and emotional and irrational. And we need to have a more honest discussion when these things happen. It is not always about race. It is not Blacks murder whites and that's just murder. It is not, Blacks murder Blacks and that's just murder. And then the final clause is if a white person kills a Black person, that's instantly the Ku Klux Klan racist lynchings coming back from the civil rights era. That's just ridiculous. From what I'm hearing, more is going to come out about this story. We already know that, Ahmaud Arbery has a history with mental health issues, that he's been arrested before. From what I'm hearing, there's a lot more to the story that people don't understand. And as I said, even if it comes out that he was responsible for burglarizing that entire neighborhood for a month, that doesn't necessarily justify people jumping in their truck and trying to make a citizen's arrest. But what it does should stipulate to at least everybody is that this situation is not about race. It's just about somebody being in your neighborhood that shouldn't have been on private property, someone calling 911, and things getting botched. So people, you can be upset with me. I really don't care. I've never been a person that cries when, oh my God, Candace, you didn't take the bait. You know, oh, Candace, you're not allowed to be black anymore because you didn't senselessly defend someone. You know, you have to just, no matter what, you defend your own. That is stupid bottom feeding mentality. There are plenty of examples of innocent black people who are killed that I speak out about. Black on black crime obviously happens way more often. Over 90% of black people are killed by other black people, and there's never any riots, any protests, or any marching about it, because somehow if we do it to our own, it's okay. You know, just be more honest. Have a more honest discussion about things, and stop taking the bait every election year. Like, how can it literally be every 4 years with this stuff and nobody's waking up? Grow up. Have a more adult conversation. Argue the real tenets of this case. I mean, there's plenty of room to debate, you know, what happened here without pretending it's white America after black America again. Even the articles, by the way, we visited the neighborhood where this happened and there were Trump 2020 flags and MAGA flags in some of the windows. I mean, how can you be so gullible to not realize this is just about making you angry and emotional in another election year? That's the part I don't understand. It's like, how can we just keep falling for it? Is there going to be like 1 year, like maybe 2028, where Black America's like, we've done this for the last 70 years. Something sounds off right now. Maybe it's not a lynching. Maybe other stuff went wrong, but it wasn't just a bunch of white people that wanted to kill black people. I mean, I hope so. Sometimes I do get exhausted with it because people are just foolish and they take the bait all the time. And I'm just like, is Black America ever going to wake up and stop allowing themselves to be a punchline in a white liberal leftist narrative? So far, the answer is no. I'll wrap this by saying LeBron James is an idiot, and he always takes the bait, and it is why I tweeted that he will never be a Kobe, he will never be a Michael Jordan, because he just has never taken the time to simply educate himself, and he is always reactive and emotional. He is a great basketball player, but as far as that goes, that is really the extent of it in terms of his contributions to helping Black Americans evolve. Right? Not just giving out free money, not just building a charity, actually evolve. So you get to a point where you're not going to have to give out as much money. So you get to a point where you're not going to have to do as much charity, right? Because Black Americans have evolved mentally, right? Have gotten to a point where we're more successful academically, have gotten to a point where we can debate things, debate the actual facts of a situation, not the emotions of a situation. When Black Americans can step out of the media brainwashing, that's the sort of things, those are the sort of things that I look forward to in the future. And unfortunately, we live in an era of Black false prophets, and the ones that are trying to tell the truth get castigated. So I will leave it at that and look forward to being castigated in the comments. Bye, guys.